to my channel, Michael Romeo Talks Books. And if you're a return visitor, welcome back. If you're a subscriber, thank you for the support you give my channel. Subscription costs nothing. It does two things. It helps you know when I post something new, and it also, the more subscribers the channel has, the more recognition it gets in the YouTube universe. And you think she's getting comfortable now? Oh, you got a niche. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, it helps. Yeah, just helps for more recognition, more playtime, more all the stuff that goes on in the background that you guys never have to look at or deal with. But anyway, today we're doing something. It's a new one for me. I'm doing the list of 18 series that I've started and need to finish. Started out at 15, then I remembered a couple more. Tried to bump it to 20, and just couldn't do it. Just couldn't pull two more out of my head that were out there. But here are 18 series that I've started and I need to finish. And with each series, I'll put up a picture of the first book of the series. In case you're interested in starting it, you'll know where to begin. So, got bunches of information here that I gathered about them. Okay, so the first series that I've got on my list is the Dave Robichaux series. It's a mystery series written by James Lee Burke, an American author. It first appeared in the book The Neon Rain in 1987. The most recent book in the series was published in 2020. And as I understand, it's still going to go strong as far as James Lee Burke is concerned. There are 24 books in the series. 24. I've read 5. Got 19 to go. It just that one really got ahead of me. Of course, I started late. I didn't start the Dave Robichaux series until a couple of years ago, so I was already starting way behind. The Dave Robichaux series, I should mention, is set mostly in Louisiana, New Orleans. Every now and then it escapes to another part of the country. That's the main area. A lot of the stories, just like the very first one, The Neon Rain, deals with prostitution and mafia and bunches of stuff like that. But Dave Robichaux is an alcoholic. He's a Vietnam vet, and he brings some baggage to his world, and he's had trauma outside of being in the war, and it's a very riveting series, at least judging by the first 5 books. There's one book in there, Morning for Flamingos, that I give 5 stars to because it was just so good. But yeah, give him a try, especially if you like the Deep South, Louisiana, New Orleans, and places like that. Next one up, you've heard me talk about many times, I'm sure, if you're a return visitor to the channel, and that is the Ian Rutledge mystery series by Charles Todd. The first book of the series, A Test of Wills, was published in 1986, and the most recent book was published in 2022, just last year. There are 28 books in the series. I've read 18. I'm on number 18 now, as we speak, actually. And definitely I'll be finishing that one up this year. It's mainly what my wife and I read to each other, which you've heard of happening if you've been on this channel. My wife and I read to each other. And that is the primary series that we read. Ian Rutledge is another troubled lad. comes out of World War One, Battle of the Somme, very scarred with what they then called shell shock, what we now call post-traumatic stress disorder. And he, after some hospitalization, goes back to work at Scotland Yard, but apparently he goes back too soon. Um, the devils that haunt him now because of the post-traumatic stress disorder are not easily dealt with yet, if they ever will be. One of the things we have to remember is, somebody who has post-traumatic stress disorder now, we treat it. They can go to a doctor, they can get medicine, they can get emotional support pets, they can get all this other support system, buddy groups of people who are sufferers as well. And but after World War One, if you came back shell shocked, it had to be because you were a coward and just couldn't take the pressure of war. And that's what he deals with. And so when he has a bad outbreak of the stress disorder, he has to bottle it up. And the more he bottles it up, the more strength he gives it. And his particular demon that keeps cropping up is named Hamish. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because how Hamish becomes his dark side is a whole running plot through the books. So I'll let you discover that on your own. But definitely read this series. This is one of the best mystery series I have ever come across. It's intelligent, it's well written, it's intense, it's a page turner. A lot of chapters end in cliffhangers. But definitely give it a try. The next one coming up is the Kate O'Donnell mystery series by Patricia Hall. The first book of this one was Deadbeat, and it was published in 2011, and the rest of the series was published from there through 2018. This one I'm doing okay on it. There's only 7 books in the series. I've read 4 of them. I'm more than halfway there. So I'm sure I can probably knock that one out this year. Set in 1960s, Soho in London. Kate O'Donnell is she's a photographer trying to break into professional photography in a place and time when such things were considered men's work. And she's having a hard time breaking into the men's world with her photography. And in the meanwhile, she's also getting herself into situations where she's trying to solve murders, much to the chagrin of the chief detective that she keeps crossing paths with, and the rest of the police force. But she's a very smart, on top of it kind of girl, and she usually knows what she's talking about. Once people shut up and start listening to her, the crime gets solved. Again, the first book of it is Deadbeat, in which she is looking for her missing brother, and uncovers a whole world of sleaziness that he could have slipped away into. For a complete change, we changed genres and everything. My next list is Kent Family Chronicles, also known as the Bicentennial Series, American books by John Jakes. Series went from 1974 to 1980, and the first book was called The Bastard, which starts out in France, goes to England, and then ends up in America. And it starts the Kent family. And the rest of the series is history told through the eyes of this family. Um, it's a fictional family, but they run into factual characters, factual situations. Um, Jakes does a great job of um, giving you a sense of society at that time through the interactions of the the fictional characters. Again, the first book is The Bastard. If you want to check this one out. Next up is Brady Coyne. He's a mystery character created by William G. Tapley, another American author, and his series runs 1984 to 2010 and ended only because of his death. I have a personal connection here in that at one time in my life I wanted to be the next great mystery writer, and I studied and I read, and um, I actually managed to become a one-on-one student with William Tapley, the author of this series, and he was a really nice guy, great teacher, and um, I never made my goals in becoming that kind of a writer, but he definitely did, and he wrote a great series. The first book of the series, published in 1984, is Death at Charity's Point. All his series, all his book entries in the series, um, have cliffhanger chapters and taut suspense and a convoluted mystery that is not easy to figure out. There are 25 books in the series. I've read 16 of them, so I've only got 9 to go. 9 to go. But I'm probably going to, because it's been a long time, I'm probably going to go back and read some of the others just to catch up again on Brady and what he's like and what's going on in his life. They're short books, so that shouldn't be an issue. And then next up, I have another mystery series. This is another one that my wife and I read to each other when we can't get a hold of a Charles Todd, Ian Rutledge book. And this is the Rabbi Small series by Harry Kemmelman. The series ran from 1964 to 1987, a true 20th century series. So perfect for my channel. Rabbi Small helps solve mysteries. The first book in the series is Friday the Rabbi Slept Late. No big surprise. The next one was Saturday the Rabbi did whatever. Then Sunday the Rabbi did whatever. And Monday the Rabbi did whatever. When they run out of days of the week, then we start getting one fine day the Rabbi bought a cross. The next day the Rabbi and the only one that breaks that cycle is one called Conversations with Rabbi Small, in which it breaks from the whole mystery genre and has him talking to somebody who wants to convert to Judaism and counseling them. And that's, from what I understand, what that whole book is. I haven't gotten to that one yet, but it seems to be coming up on the horizon. There are 12 books in the series. I've read 6 of them. A couple of them rereads. So I'm halfway through that one. And again, that's probably one I might finish this year. The mysteries are interesting. They get better as the series goes along. First couple are okay. That was fun and entertaining, but a little on the light side. Where the series is now, where I'm at, and I've just finished with Wednesday the Rabbi Got Wet. It gets a little more taut, a little more a little more curvy with the mystery, going from here to there and everywhere. Breaking again from the history genre, we go to the Poldark series. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen this on television, Poldark, with Aidan Quinn, I think is the actor's name. Excellent TV show. I've read the first book of 12 twice. I've not read the others, but it's Poldark by Winston Graham. The first book in the series is called Ross Poldark. Um, it was written in 1945, and the series ran through 1983. Again, another true 20th century series, perfect for my 20th century channel. Um, Poldark comes home from the War of Independence at the what it will eventually become the United States, back to his home in England, having fought valiantly against the upstarts, and finds his whole world changed. Finds his fiance is now engaged to somebody else, and his father has died, and the estate is in ruins. And the first book follows his life in pulling, follows his life as he pulls his life back together from all these shreds that it's been blown into. It's a great series on television. I trusting the book series will be even better if I ever get around to reading more than book one. But again, 12 books. I've read one of them. And first book was Ross Poldark, published in 1945. Next, I've got The Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. As most of you know, I'm sure, the first book is Interview with the Vampire. Awesome book. I've read that book 3 times, I believe. And the whole series is 13 in the series. I've read the first 2. I've read Interview with the Vampire multiple times, and I've read The Vampire Lestat. I need to go on and read the rest of them. Even though everybody tells me, you've read the best 2 of the series, just quit while you're ahead. I don't want to quit while I'm ahead. I want to read the rest of the series. Series started in 1976 with the Interview with the Vampire, and the series ended in 2018 with the death of Anne Rice. She won't be writing any more Vampire Chronicles. Following that, everybody alert Olly at Criminale, because this is his favorite series of all time. And I'm halfway through it. Oh, almost halfway through it. No, I'm not halfway through it. Again, I'm about a third of the way through it. It's the 87th Precinct series by Ed McBain. First book of the series is Cop Hater. Excellent book. I totally did not know where this was going to wind up. And when it did wind up, it was like, oh, yeah, the clues were there all along, weren't they? Cop Hater came out in 1956, and the series goes to 2005. I have not read this one in order. It probably should be read in order because of a number of subplots, but it doesn't have to be read in order. You kind of figure out what's happened in the books you missed if you skip around. I started reading this series in high school. I got the books as I could get them. I didn't worry about order. As a matter of fact, Cop Hater I read just last year or the year before. But it's a great series. It's a great series surrounding the 87th precinct of a fictional city that anybody with any sense knows is New York City. Just going by the name Isolde, with different borough names, different river names, but it's supposed to be New York. And I think by calling it Isolde and changing all the other names, he gave himself a lot of leeway in what he could tackle and how to tackle it and what he could look down on. And it's just, but overall, it's an excellent series. I found one book so far offensive, but that was because of where I was at that point in my life. And when I say offensive, I also mean disturbing. And that book was called Vespers. And there's only been one or two that I found boring out of 55. That's not a bad track record. Um, Still have, let's see, 23, 2, 3. I need to have 32 more to go to finish the series. So I'll work on that. I will, because I really do want to read them all. Um, or I could just call Olly at Criminale and ask him what happens in the books and maybe get out of it easy. But no, I won't do that. I'll read them. The next book series that I've got on here, the next few are a bit of a not so good reflection on me. The Starbridge series, or the Church of England series by Susan Howich, running from 1987 to 1995, starting with the book Glittering Images. It's only 6 books in the series. I've read one book, Glittering Images, and I loved it. I could not put the book down. She approaches the Church of England um, with honesty and directness, and helps us understand that the people involved in the Church of England, though they may not want to admit it, are just people like you and me. And I've heard this from other people. You may have heard in one of my contents a couple back when I talk about the book In This House of Breed by Ruma Godin. And a nun told her, stop writing the romanticized vision of nuns. We are just normal people who have chosen a cloistered life, but we're still people. And that's kind of what Susan Howich does with Glittering Images. These are normal people who have chosen a path, and they do stumble, they do trip, and they do fall. Um, but Glittering Images was a wonderful book. I really do need to go on and read the last 5. Then there's the Dune series by Frank Herbert. Started in 1965 with the book Dune, and went to 2009 with his death. I don't believe this count here includes the books written by his son. I had a little trouble ascertaining that from the source I was using, but they could include his son's books. There are 17 books in the series. I've read 1, Dune. Loved it. Couldn't put it down. Loved the book. Stayed up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes reading, and this is when I had a first shift job. Worth the read. I know some people hate it. Some people call it an absolute drag. I don't see it. And my wife is one of them. My wife said, "Okay, it's a sandy planet, big blinking deal," and that's fine. People just don't see what us fans have seen in it. But if you are going to be a fan of Dune, try the book and find out if you are. I don't want to say Dune material because that sounds like people are lesser. But if Dune oriented, I guess, because it is a brilliant, brilliant book. And I am going to tackle the rest of the 17 books maybe next year. Maybe that's a 2024 challenge. That's followed by the Suffolk series by Nora Lofts, not to be confused with her Suffolk House series, which I completed. Okay, it was only 3 books. I read them all back to back, right through like it was one story. It really was one story. But when it comes to the Suffolk series, not the Suffolk House series, I've only read the first book, Night Taker, which was written in 1975. And the whole series ran only 1975 to 1976. All 3 were published within a year. Night Taker was wonderful. There was stuff about the Crusades I never knew. I never knew about what happens when a spear manages to pierce a gap in your armor, when that happens to you, especially if the spear was on fire first before it pierced your armor and you in it. Um, but anyway, this full of stuff like that, full of little tidbits like that. You think through that one. Um, it's a great series. Nora Lofts is a wonderful author. Um, the last two books, I should be able to knock out this year. They're short books. And then we have Riverworld by Philip Jose Farmer. And this book starts out in 1970. This series starts out in 1972 with a book called To Your Scattered Bodies Go. And it ran through 1993. There's 8 books in the series. I've read 1. Excellent book. Have no idea why what was happening in it is happening in it, but from what I've been able to see from this quick little research, it's about these people being drawn to a world, I'm saying, as part of their afterlife. I'm not sure. But I'm going to read it. I'm going to find out. Probably not in this year. It's another 2024 project. Then next up we have Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. Started in 1991 with the titular book Outlander, and goes through 2022 with the publication of go tell the bees that I'm dead. I believe it's what it's called. But 13 books in that series. I've read 8, and I ran out of book. The others hadn't been written yet, and it's been so long. This is one I'm not sure I'm going to finish because I don't remember all the little nuances that are going to be cropping back up, and I don't want to be reading them lost. But neither do I want to reread the entire series again, because these books are like that thick. They're 1,500 pages, some of them. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with that one. But what I read is excellent. I am not a fan of the TV series at all. I think they ruined it with the TV series. I won't go into reasons why, because they're my reasons. But the books I just found much, much better. Next, we have the Mitford series by Jan Karon, and I'm sure if you've been here before, you've heard me talk about these books. The first book in 1994 was At Home in Mitford, and the series has run through 2017. I'm not sure if there'll be any more. Ms. Karon is getting on in years. I believe she's in her 80s now. I don't know if she's still writing. But the books that have come out so far are wonderful books. My wife suggested I read them, and I at first kind of raised my eyebrows like, you got to be kidding me. But I finally I relegated At Home in Mitford to the bathroom for bathroom reading. And before I realized it, I was spending a lot more time in the bathroom than I used to, because it was a page turner. And the rest of the books, they just get better and better as the series goes on. There is one book in the series that was kind of written as a standalone, but can still be read as part of the series if you wanted to. Same characters, same main character, except the main character goes to his old hometown to deal with some personal demons. And that book is called Home to Holly Springs. And that's been on my list of 120 favorite books, if you've been following that. Wonderful book. Oh, awesome book. She really hit her stride in that one, and not sure what was different in her that made this book so much better than the others, even though all of them are good. There's a small handful at the end. There are 14 books in the series. I've read 9 of them, so I've got 5 books left to read, which I was kind of surprised at. I didn't realize she had published that many more. Again, the first book, At Home in Mitford. If you want to start this series, I strongly recommend it. Then we have another mystery series, Brother Cadfael series by Ellis Peters. The first book in this series in 1977 was A Morbid Taste for Bones, and the series ran through 1982. That was really a very short. No, I'm sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. 1992. 23 books. I've read 10 of them. Again, these are books that my wife and I read to each other. They kind of in line behind the Charles Todd, Ian Rutledge books, and the Harry Kemmelman, Rabbi Small books. But we'll get there. We'll get them done. It's an 11th century, 12th century, around there somewhere, monk who solves mysteries. And he's an herbalist and a monk, obviously, and just it's a delightful to watch him pull the pieces together. No forensics to fall back on, no tire tracks that you can fall back on and match up to, oh, this was a Firestone such and such sold in this store, and none of that going on. It's a whole new way of solving, a whole old way of solving mysteries. It's the Brother Cadfael series, and it's really worth reading. It was also made into a television series that was very, very faithful to the books. Starred Derek Jacobi as Brother Cadfael. Grand if you can find it. Next up, almost at the end here, we've got The Grand Tour by Ben Bova. It started in 1992 with the book Mars and ended in 2019. I don't know why it haven't been more since 2019. I don't know if he's done with the series, if he died, or whatever. But The Grand Tour has 24 books in it, and I've read 1. But it was a good book. I really enjoyed it. I read Mars, and the rest of the series, according to my brother-in-law, who is a sci-fi fan, can be read as standalone books, but are better read as part of the series, just to have the continuity of the company, and I think is what he called it, and the growth of society as things expand throughout the universe. And I guess it was Ben Bova's dream to write a series that encompassed pretty much everything we know about the universe. So all the planets are included with their own book, and there are other outlying planets and stars and stuff that the plots go to. I'm kind of looking forward to reading the rest of it. This is a long one, and it's probably not going to be immediately. And finally, we've got the Ender/Speaker series by Orson Scott Card. The first book in 1985 was Ender's Game, and the series went to 2021. Maybe still going on, I'm not sure. 2021 was only a couple of years ago. He could be working on something else now. But it's another sci-fi, and I'm not 100% sure of how it's pieced together as a series. I know the first book is about teaching kids to play war games and then using them as the army to fight the enemy. That's what I remember from the first book. I could be a little off on that. It's been a while. I'll have to read it again. And then as I was pushing for, I'm at 18. I might as well try to make it to 20. I decided I was going, oh, Philip Marlowe. I haven't finished the Philip Marlowe series. So I started putting down Philip Marlowe by Raymond Chandler. And I looked it up, and it said there were 9 books in the series. And I went down the list, and I said, I read that one, read that one, read that. I'd read all 9 Philip Marlowe books. And that kind of broke my heart because I was looking forward to more Philip Marlowe. And I know Robert B. Parker took one of Chandler's old manuscripts and completed it. I'm looking for the Raymond Chandler Philip Marlowe books. So far, this 18-night series list, hanging out there, I have 111 unread books. As I said, some of it will be this year, some of it will be 2024, some of it may be 2025, if the world hasn't imploded by then. I don't know. We'll see. But that's my unfinished symphony of series. And hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some reading ideas. If you have any advice about any of these series, give it to me in the comments. If you have any questions about any of these series, you can ask them in the comments. I love the comments. I love responding to y'all in comments. I may not always get to, or may not always know just how to respond, because every now and then there's one I go, no, there's really nothing to be said to that. But anyway, that could be just me. But I do love conversation in the comments about the content and about other things. So do feel free. And just like the subscribing, if you hit the like button, I get some kudos in the YouTube verse. So go ahead and hit the like button, comment, subscribe, that whole bit. It's a fulfilling experience on BookTube, having all that stuff happening. And that's about it. Keep reading good books. It's worth the time. And once again, my little remote control